Welcome back to the Matrix. You're not just the Matrix, you are the Matrix. How's it feel, Neo? And today we got ourselves a banger daily market news analysis. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Let's bring the action. All right, we're going to go over the news. We're going to go over the analysis for Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, gold. We're going to look at silver, the DXY, the Dow Jones, and then we're going to get into your guys' questions, comments, and concerns. So let's bring the action. All right. So top story, India offers 0 tariffs on pharmaceuticals, steel, auto parts from the U.S. Now, this is a massive deal, and I've talked about this. The tariff war means one of two things. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like to be an expert on tariffs or anything like that, because I'm not. But this whole entire thing, it just means one of two things, okay? It means one of two things. Either A, we're going into the greatest grand recession, that world recession, downfall that the world has ever seen, or B, it means things are going to get renegotiated, and ultimately it's going to be a net positive for the entire world. And the way that the stocks and crypto charts look, in my opinion, I lean very strong towards option B. Okay, that is my leanings. Pump.fund generates 294 million in fees so far in 2025, surpassing Ethereum's 249 million. This is insane. Insane. Because not only is Solana generating more fees than Ethereum, but Pump.fund, an arm of Solana, has generated more fees, more revenue than Ethereum. This is a massive big deal. And in the macro term, Ethereum has some major problems and obstacles that they're going to have to overcome. That being said, we're going to talk about Ethereum, their charts, later on in this video. Today, the U.S. Treasury to deliver report on building strategic Bitcoin reserve using seized Bitcoin per Trump's executive order. Okay, so what this means is, basically in the past, Bitcoin has been seized by the United States government from, I cannot say the road, but you guys know the road. It's made from spiders, right? I can't say the road because TikTok doesn't like it. YouTube maybe doesn't like it, but they seized the Bitcoin, right? from that, okay? And what this means is they're not going to sell this Bitcoin that has been seized, and it's a lot, right? So the United States is one of the largest public holders of Bitcoin. They hold over 200,000 of the 21 million Bitcoin. That's a lot. So this is the infrastructure that A, they're not going to be selling this Bitcoin, which is a great thing. Okay, that's a great thing. But B, what this does is it sets up the infrastructure, the building blocks for the next thing, which was promised, which is that they are going to buy 1 million Bitcoin. So in order, it's a step at a time, it's a block at a time, and this is a building block ultimately towards that. But we will see. Okay. Justin, Wrap Bitcoin goes live on Solana. This I am super bullish on, because what a wrapped Bitcoin means is, essentially, think of it like tariffs, right? So you have some silver here, right? Let's say you were to import this silver into a country, and let's say the fees on this silver are going to be, let's say it's a 10% tariff, right? That's the gas fee or the tariff fee that you have to pay. This would essentially be like, instead of it being silver, we're going to wrap it in copper, and maybe the copper fee is only 1% instead of 10%. That's essentially what this is. Although it's just silver, right? It's just silver at the end of the day. It's just silver still, but you're wrapping it in something where the fees are cheaper and you can build on it better. So to me, this is a big deal for Solana. This is a big deal for Bitcoin, and it gives more functionality to Bitcoin, which ultimately is a big deal as well. Coinbase new commercial has dropped, and here it is. I'm going to show you guys right now. I think it's a pretty big representation of why Bitcoin is so important. So let's talk about it. Let's show it.
If a Bitcoin was the size of a quarter, all 21 million of them would fit inside a single shipping container. But to fit the dollars the Fed prints on average every day, you'd need 72 shipping containers. Each year, you'd need 26,280 containers. And to fit what they've printed in the last decade, well, you'd need a lot more than that.
Boom. Very simple, very clean, very sleek. It gets the point across very good. And that's it. That's the point of Bitcoin. All right, let's get into the charts and analysis, and then we're going to get into your guys' comments, questions, concerns right after that. So let's start it off with Bitcoin, which right now, as of the time of recording, is sitting at, it is May 5th, 2025, Cinco de Mayo. Bitcoin's currently sitting at $94,500. Okay. And all of the signs are here for accumulation. We've had, this is accumulation, which is a bottoming structure. And what we see from Bitcoin is when it breaks a downtrend, what we see most of the times, this is the sign of strength right now, in my opinion, which looks like so. Okay. So we're at the sign of strength phase D. And I called this out with video evidence publicly on April 9th, 2025. I just put that on my story. When we were about 80K, I said the sign of strength would take us to 95 to 100K. Here we are. And when you're at the sign of strength, you just typically chop. Okay, so this is the textbook. And what we see from Bitcoin is when you break a downtrend, which is what accumulation does, breaking a downtrend, it likes to chop upwards. And you start to make boring, grueling, higher highs and higher lows. So here's an example right here. The last one that we were in, which was from March of 2024 through October of 2024, when you're on this downtrend, higher lows, lower lows and lower highs. This is a downtrend, right? When Bitcoin finally breaks the downtrend and it starts to make higher lows and higher highs, it kind of gruels its way out of here. It's kind of a grueling, chopping, boring until it's not. And then it's very violent. In my opinion, Bitcoin right now is in the grueling chop up of a wall of worry, a grueling up, chopping sideways until it is not, right? And the until it is not phase is what we know in Wyckoff as the phase E, which is what we call the bull run. In Wyckoff, you call it the markup. It is the same thing. So same thing back in 2022/2023, you had a markdown downtrend. When you break the downtrend, it's kind of a gruel out of here. Are we sure we're not going lower? Are we sure? Is everyone sure? And then boom, until it is not. So right now, in my opinion, Bitcoin is on the are we sure phase. Are we really sure? I'm sure, but that's what the market is thinking. That's what the market's feeling. Are we really sure that we bottomed? And it's kind of a grueling higher low, lower, or higher low and low, higher high structure until we're not. And so that's what I anticipate. Right now, though, when we look at it, all this is in the micro and in the macro, that's what it is. It's higher highs and higher lows from Bitcoin, which is a very, very good thing. And we talked about this a little bit on my short for Ethereum, but what I want to show you is this is, and we're going to pivot to Ethereum right now. When we go from the swing high of the body to the wick low on this recent pullback, Bitcoin pulled back 3.8%. Okay. And why am I showing this? Because I believe that Bitcoin is just a beat ahead of Ethereum. Okay. So this square right here is basically where I think structurally Ethereum is at. Okay. So you have your markdown, your accumulation, your breakout of the downtrend, and then you kind of chop right in here before you get your sign of strength. The sign of strength for Bitcoin took us to the 618, which is about 95K. That is what I anticipate the next macro move for Ethereum is going to be, is to the 618, which would be somewhere between the 0.5 and the 618 would be about 3,000 to 3,300. That's going to be a huge deal for Bitcoin dominance. That's going to be a huge deal for everything. But the reason that I just brought up Bitcoin's 3.8% pullback that we recently had from the body high to the wick low. Okay. Now, this isn't a massive deal or anything like that. It's nothing to write home about. Bitcoin went down 3.8% and Ethereum was 3.7, 3.6%. This isn't the end all be all. This isn't, oh my God, sound the alarm, ding, 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 ding. Nothing like that. Nothing like that by any stretch of the imagination. But this does mean on this little pullback, Ethereum has outperformed Bitcoin finally. This is one piece of evidence towards a larger scale. One piece of the entire puzzle. One little piece of the entire puzzle. Okay? This isn't the whole puzzle, but this is a piece of the puzzle. And in my opinion, Ethereum is right here. And Bitcoin has already retraced. In my opinion, the next macro thing for Bitcoin is going to be Phase E, which takes you to $118,000. All right, so looking very good for Ethereum. Ethereum has some catching up to do. To catch up to the same structural move of where Bitcoin is at, it would take us to about $3,300. That's what I anticipate the next macro move to be for Ethereum. And you might be like, well, Ski, like that's going to be a long time before any of that happens. Like, are you sure? Because from the spring until we got to the 618 was 24 days. That's how crypto is. It is boring until it's not. And the until it's not phase, everyone thinks that we're all going to, okay, is everyone ready now? Okay, let's all ape in now. Nope. That's not how it goes. That's not how it's going to go. That's not how it's ever went. In reality, retail does not buy until we make all-time highs. Okay, switching our focus to the Dow Jones. To me, we've had a pretty crazy couple of weeks for the Dow Jones. What is it? 9 days in a row of a green candle. Now, we're at the retracement. And again, I get a little bit of worrisome at the retracement. Bitcoin's at the retracement. The Dow Jones is at the retracement. Okay? This is the decider. Are you going parabolic, price discovery, new all-time high? Or are you going to get rejected, backtest, and make a higher low? We'll see what is to come from the Dow Jones. The retracement, though, is 41,757. If we were to backtest and make a higher low, that would be fine. As long as about 39,000 holds, that is A-okay. For that and for Bitcoin, the backtest would be about $88,000, which is definitely on the table. Okay. The question is, are we going to break higher or are we going to backtest? Ultimately, the next phase is still the same. The markup, Phase E, the bull run. 118,000 is the next macro level. The question is, are we going to get a micro backtest or not? Both of these are equally as plausible because when you're at the retracement, the truth of the matter is it's not clear what Bitcoin's going to do. Retracement, one of two things happens, and they're both equally as likely. You get a backtest or you break higher. That's it. Higher or low incoming. It's very plausible. Very plausible. All right, let's take a look at the DXY, which to me, this was the bottom here. The question is, are we going to make a retrace to 103 and then roll back over or not? To me, that is the highest plausibility. And gold is now working on lower highs and lower lows. It's I said I sold 30% of my gold up here at the parabolic level. This is a key level. We also have a bearish divergence forming on the RSI. This is a good thing for stocks and crypto. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on that. Obviously, we have the Fed coming up today, or this week, excuse me, today, not this week. Most likely they're just going to continue to pause, but are they going to firmly end quantitative tightening while pausing or not? That is the big question. And also, the last thing that we're going to talk about, and we're going to get into your guys' questions, comments, concerns, is XRP is at a critical level at the line in the sand. And what this line in the sand is, I believe most of the market has bottomed, so XRP would bottom too. But the big question is, are we going to continue to follow this fractal, which we've been following for 2+ years at this point? If we do, XRP is coming back to $1. Okay? If XRP comes back to $1, I'm going to re-add to my spot position on XRP, which my average price is about 20 cents or so. I've already taken profit on my XRP 40%, which is why I was able to buy my farm. Okay? My prediction, though, is we are going to break from this and we're going to create a higher low for XRP. The line in the sand is right here, $1.80. If $1.80 holds, we are breaking from this fractal. Okay? And I'm going to tell you my plan if we break from the fractal, and I'm going to tell you my plan if we do not break from the fractal. If we do not break from the fractal, that means we're coming back to $1. That's when I'm going to start re-adding to my position on XRP. That's where the value is to me. If we do not, and we make a higher low, then I will continue my normal plan, which is to exit at $5, $8, and $12. And with that, let's get into your guys' comments, questions, concerns.